Okay. Wow, what a turnout. We got pretty much, I think only I see one person missing, and I bet you he had to go to school today. So great. That's always good news when Shanik is not here. Well, not always, but hopefully that means he's able to attend school. I am so glad to see everybody. I'm really excited. Last week was kind of a work and education week, less of a let's make a beautiful painting week. So this one is about putting what we've learned into action, and I think is going to be a ton of fun. Um, we had a couple people that showed up at 9 o'clock, which is kind of a fun little social half hour. But I did ask people to do a little bit of work on my behalf, and that was voting and giving me a little bit of feedback. But I'm just going to go ahead and quickly open that up again. So my classes are 3 hours. Most classes OSA offers are 2 hours. I do that because I love talking to you guys, and I also try to do a lot in each class, maybe a little too much. But I generally, with 3 hours in my mind, in my optimistic, unrealistic brain, I think 3 hours, that's perfect. 1 hour for a lesson, right? Where I talk about what I want you to be dealing with that week, and learning and experiencing, and then showing examples of past work or other artists' work, as well as going through the handout or whatever that is. Then that's 1 hour of demo time where I get up and paint and kind of show you. And then hopefully, or an ideal world, 1 hour of critique time. What's happening is my classes are often 4 hours long, and I'm still not getting all of those done. Which, I don't mind the extra hour generally if I don't have too much to do, or an appointment or whatever. But the fact that we're still not getting through everything, and what I feel like is missing, or what the weak link is at this point, is, and you guys can all nod or shake your heads if you agree or disagree, or thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want to do, is the critiquing. I feel like, for one, I'm not making it through everybody each week, because we do have a nice big group here, which is fantastic. A nice big community of like-minded people. And it makes me feel bad. If I could, I would spend a 5 hour class. But also, I think that we don't probably all need a critique every week. And the fact that we have our Padlet page, and I love what I'm seeing on there. You guys actually going in there and giving each other little pep talks and complimenting each other, giving feedback, all of that. I think that's so good and so important. It, I think, is such a bonus skill to our growth when we can actually go and look at the work of others and say, that's amazing, I can't wait to steal that idea or use it on mine, or that's, bummer for you, but thanks, I won't be doing that. That saved me an hour of my life. Or, whatever it is, just a different way of seeing things and thinking about things. Because we're all, even just in our little color studies, we've got pour paintings, we've got tiny little crazy high chroma abstracts, we've got, I saw some houses painted on there, like little pictures of how cute little bird type houses. Really fun and interesting, and I appreciate that. So we, during our Thursday paint along, which I'm glad a couple of you are able to make it, and again, it's always open. If you can't make it, or you can't make it the whole time, no problem. I was comparing it to study hall earlier. And that's what it is. It's just an extra time to get together. If it helps for you to put it on the schedule and tell your dog it's not walk time, or your spouse that it's not walk time, and do their own damn dishes. Sorry, I keep saying bad words here. That, maybe that's helpful, because I do find that when I don't schedule literally my job, my one important thing, making paintings, I don't paint. It's so easy for me to get distracted by all the business side, by the fact that my studio's upstairs, that I do dishes and laundry, and got a cat that wants to be walked. And so I literally do set my schedule, and then I rewrite it every single morning. I have a routine where I get up and I read And then I write one page with multiple things, a little gratitude, a little just kind of what's going on in my life. But I also, and then I end it with just kind of my top one thing. And then, you know, a couple things that are in my brain that are bothering me, right? Like I've not reached out to this client that asked me a question a week ago, and they probably are, you know, think I'm flaky. So things like that. But my one big thing, and generally that's paint, because that's what I do. That is my job. That's how I make money. If I don't paint, no matter how good my marketing is, I don't have anything to sell. And so I will literally write from 9 till noon, or 9 till 10 or 11 or whatever, a couple hours is deep work. Anyways, that's beside the point. But anyways, I found that the importance of scheduling for me and my very easily distracted and yeah, there's just a lot of things to do all the time. So if we don't prioritize it, it often doesn't happen. And I do know that life gets in the way. You know, I've got a sick, well, a grandmother who's luckily getting much better. We had a lot of family fly in from all over and all of that. But still just saying, you know what, from 9 till 11, 2 hours is a lot if I can focus. If I can, you know, 3 hours is great. A lot of times I don't work 3 hours straight just because my brain starts to get mushy. So I'll often take a break in there. So anyways, that's what Thursdays is. It's me setting that for myself, that time aside, because I'm promising you that I'll be there. It helps. But during that time, I don't want to be critiquing very much. I don't want to be teaching very much. I might be working on the assignment, just like you guys, a little bit if I need to, you know, fine tune some things in between class. But generally, I'll probably be using that time to work for galleries or for commissions clients, which I think, you know, so you guys don't even have to be working on your homework. If you'd rather be working on your own project during that time, totally fine. And you know, the fact that I don't want to be giving like in-depth critiques and stuff during that time is not bad. But if like you know, Michelle and Gail and Regina and I were in there last week, and every once in a while we just kind of turn towards the camera. Here's what I'm, you know, working. Anybody have any advice? So it's not me in particular. You know, Michelle would just say, you know, what do you think? And Gail would say, up your values. And Regina would say, I love the pinks, but maybe they could be a little more purple. I don't know. But, you know, like that's great. You know, it's so nice. Imagine being in the studio together working. So that part's wonderful. I actually do aim the camera on Thursdays just at what I'm working on. So you guys can see that. But I don't spotlight it or anything. So it's, you know, just a small screen on there. You could always click it to enlarge it. But it is just work time and social hour. And, you know, the first time we did it, it was quite quiet. So I played some music and we all danced. And just kidding. We all just painted, you know, listening to quiet music. And, you know, we're still able to talk. I didn't put it up so loud that it made it so we couldn't talk. So anyways, that's what it is. And what it isn't is a class. You are not missing an extra class. You are not missing, you know, time where Mike could give a 2-hour critique or anything like that. So just setting expectations. But it is super fun. I really enjoy it. I think we went an extra hour even last Wednesday for, I think there was 3 or 4 of us that lasted that long. And just pop in and out. If you don't make it at 9 o'clock because you have an appointment or your dog really did need a walk, you know, pop in at 10 or whatever time if you want. So that's that.
I have an idea.
Please, Ashley.
Because I was thinking about this, because even if there's an hour critique time, so I don't know how many people's in the class, but if it's 20 people, that's like 3 minutes per person, which is hardly anything anyway. So I was thinking what might be good instead, and that's maybe like a little framework for us to be able to critique our own work. It's just like a little list of questions relating to each of the like lessons. So for instance, for the last one, like, you know, what do you like, what don't you like, but also things like how well do you think you got the split complementaries, you know, or like how abstract were you intending to go and did you manage it, and things like that maybe.
Yeah, I love that idea. And maybe what I'll do, okay, so I'm just going to do share screen, and don't let me forget to come back to that. So here we are on our color. And what I did is this is something I wrote a while back called self-critique, and I wrote it for myself and decided to share it. So this is just what I try to make sure I've kind of thought of before I start my painting. And then midway through my painting, I can go back and reread this and say, am I keeping to the plot, or have I completely lost, the plot and need to reestablish my map and get back on track? And then at the end as well, I can use this, and it helps me to analyze the painting, because a lot of times paintings don't work as well as we want, but by asking why and how could I improve it next time? What steps maybe could I take? So that's one that I have there. And then underneath it, I actually have a couple pages of just things, that information you can use to fill that out, things you might want to think about. So what I'm going to suggest we do as a group, and then the last thing is basically my roadmap for when I'm the most successful. I think I already talked about that part, about my horrible no good week where I wasted a whole week and I didn't have it to get ready for a show. Don't know. I know a number of my students have heard that story. But anyways, a lot of times when I fall flat, and I'm going to go ahead and use last week's demo as an example. Okay. My color demo last week did not live up to what I had in my head at all. I thought using the acrylics would make it fast and easy, and I made the stupidest mistake, but I couldn't understand the mistake I was making at the time. I was too nervous. It was making me more nervous, and things weren't working. So I just kind of fell apart mentally for a little bit, right? That happens in my paintings. That especially happens when I'm out plein air painting. And so what I was able to do was to step back after class and just say, that should have been easier. Why did that not work? Why was I not able to demonstrate the things I wanted to demonstrate? And it was the most simple question. I just go back to my 4 ways of painting, right? Paint from thin to thick, dark to light, big to small. 3. And what it was, the worst thing I did, thin to thick. I put on a huge, thick glob of yellow paint that wouldn't dry. I know better than that. It's my number 1 rule. But that's how learning is in art, is we're constantly getting knocked out upside the head by hey, you forgot your rule, you forgot your guideline, whatever you want to say. And so simply just going, great, that's a simple fix. Thank you for the reminder, painting. I will do better next time, I hope. And so that's how I like to approach my paintings, is the good, the bad, the ugly, and how do we learn from them. So anyways, here is a very loose one, Ashley. But what I would like to do, you guys, is have you open up underneath it, especially if it's anything about the class, is, critique ideas, questions you could ask, or things you could help answer in there. And that there's some good notes in there that you could use. Also, in all of my handouts, right? This is this week's handout. There's a lot of information in there about, like, the different components. Like, it starts off a fairly rudimentary. I imagine a couple of you guys reading these first couple paragraphs and like, oh boy, I've been doing this for years. But then I'm hoping that it gets progressively more involved and a little more complicated as you go down, and a little more useful for the more advanced students, the beginning students. I tried to put it in an order that was useful. So please don't, be upset that I'm repeating myself at the top, because it does get more complicated towards the bottom. But within these handouts too, you do have a lot of that information. But I think that Ashley's right, that if we had, do you think even just like 3 questions, like something like that, just a quick way of looking at each other's work, that we could do something like that to help each other?
Sorry, I hadn't even seen you had put that up before I asked that, because that's actually exactly the sort of thing I was talking about.
Yeah, it was very deep, deep, deep. Look at how tiny this little scroller is, because I've given like almost all of my handouts over time are on there. So I didn't expect anybody to go through and read this novel. So I'm just putting them there for me, because as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I know that one's at the very bottom.
You've got a book in the making there, Michael.
Yes, I know. It's going to be a coloring book though, so that's good.
Perfect.
Yeah, or a paint by number, I don't know which. But yes, so that's there. I'm going to go ahead and put this handout from this week on top just for a little bit, just because that's the one that the assignment's about. So with critiques, I'm going to go ahead and do a stop share so I can see hands and eyes and everything else. If I were to assess the priorities in this class with the three things being the lesson, the demo, and the critique, I think it's in that order. I think the lesson is the most important. The demo, I think, is very exciting. People enjoy it. You love watching me fall flat on my face in front of you. I think you're all very masochistic. And then three is the critique. Even though it's very important and very valuable, I do have to admit that, you know, when it's getting into after the first half hour, I definitely see, because I can see all your faces, always watching, always judging. That's me. That you guys are tuning out. You know, it's like, oh, when's my turn? And I get it, because I've been a part of so many critiques, you know, through college and through all the art programs I've done, and, you know, all the things I do. So I do know that, like, much longer than a half hour, we do start to tune out, a lot of us, until it's our turn. And then we're like, all right, it's on. Let's see what Michael says. So yeah, first off, would you agree with that order of priorities?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody think that it's upside down or sideways? Don, you're good with it? Sorry, I didn't move my eyes quick enough.
I'm good.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll keep that priority going. And then as far as critiques, are you guys okay with me kind of doing, you know, from one direction and then the other direction? Like Linda, I don't even think I've talked about your paintings yet this class. You know, so Linda smack dab in the middle, I guess alphabetically somehow, I don't know. You know, yeah, Donna?
How about if people who specifically want a critique and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this, can you help me? How about they go first and then kind of trickle down from
Yeah,
there?
maybe that is a good way of saying it. And you know what I think you can do? We could either do it in the chats, or you could kind of be like, you know, we'll pick the top 5 people. You know, I don't want it to be like as soon as you get in, you go to the chat or anything. I thought there was like a raise hand or something. But yeah, within the chat, you could be like, I need some advice. And then maybe you can even direct me on my values and colors. Right? Oops. Yep. Okay, good. So then, you know, then I would know kind of too, like a little bit. Yeah, Lisa?
Or maybe, I mean, you are very, very kind with your critiques, and I don't mind if you just take 3 minutes instead of 10 and are very blunt and direct and say, this one works for me because I like the colors, or, you know, the colors look good, or this one I think you need to do like the last one, so my light was in the wrong place. I mean, if we didn't turn it into a conversation between each of us, I think that would save some time. And
Okay.
I personally am totally comfortable with you just hitting the high points and just going through, you know, each painting. I mean, I think you could do that in 3 minutes if you were ruthless, which I can totally deal with. And if we didn't turn it into a one-on-one individual conversation / lesson.
And mute everybody.
Mute
Yes, I
everybody.
feel
Well,
like I
mean,
feel like
do-
you feel the need to compliment as well as scathe, which isn't necessarily, I guess, help. You know, long term, I guess we just need the scathing, really, don't we?
But
I-
we do need
I
to
think
know what we are doing right.
I like
Yeah.
the idea of starting from one end to the other, but not 2 times in a row. So I get left out in the middle. But also I like that the 3-minute idea and saying, I
Like
mean,
that.
a brief saying, you did very well. Thank you for participating, whatever. And then here's what I think. And
Yeah.
that's
Your participation
Yeah.
trophy.
And if you need a time, if you need to set a 3-minute timer, do it, because
exactly.
I think 3 minutes is adequate. And you know, there's a lot of us that put extra paintings on. So if we focus just on what the assignment is, and you know, the extra
I'm
painting is
even
there.
thinking one painting, one thing.
Yes.
So you guys would have to kind of be ready for that too. Like, okay, you know what? I'm working on this painting, but actually my question is about this color chart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great. Yep. Lisa again.
Whatever that is. Mhm.
And I think, or also maybe you could start in the middle one time. So if you went left to right, right to left, next time it starts in the middle.
And which
and-
way do I go?
Well, I don't know, maybe alternate. I don't,
Hop around.
It's too hard.
I
It's
don't
too difficult.
and maybe the other option would be if we put up more than one painting that you could literally skim and say, this is the one I want to talk about.
Exactly.
This one, I
Exactly.
think you
Okay.
have the
Yeah,
most,
or I'll ask
Yeah.
it.
this one
But
you
if
have
you
the
have
most
one
to
that-
learn from.
But if you have more questions on the other one, let me know and I'll go to the one you want.
Sure.
Because you know more than I do what you need. But yeah, I can definitely give like, oh, we can all learn from this one.
Perfect.
Because that's what I'm looking for, is that we're all learning from each of the critiques.
Right. We could even put like at the top where you kind of have a subject line of the painting. You could say something like,
This one.
help, I don't know what to do with the creek or something.
Okay, doke.
Oh,
That sounds good. Yeah, yeah. If you can direct me towards the issue that's in your head, that will definitely save minutes of me trying to guess which of your plethora of issues I see. I'm just kidding. You want help with.
Goody.
I know I was so badly wanting when Lisa was telling me or giving me ideas, I was going to say, no, that's a horrible idea, just so I could practice my being mean critique. But I didn't.
Scathing, the word of the day.
So I will try to be meaner. I will try to be a little more direct. Yeah, I mean, I've spent so much time learning, you know, literally watching videos, taking classes on being a teacher and how to soft pedal and give, you know, they call it the Oreo. Start with a compliment, then tear them apart and then build them back up. So yeah, I totally get it. But I do mean it. I'm not just, you know, blowing you guys up, because I know we're all on our own journey and we're all learning at our, you know, own pace. And that's why I'm lucky when I have you guys for more than one course, because I really do get to kind of know, like, you know, what Michelle's aiming for, what Linda's aiming for, what Donna's aiming for, you know, people I've had multiple times, or Jeannie and Gail, and yeah. So that's helpful to me. I do try to guess, and that's why I have you guys, you know, put in some pictures by other artists. That helps me to kind of go, oh, that's the kind of work, you know, Don's really good about putting in work by other artists. And I'm like, oh, so Don wants to be a little looser and juicier with this paint, you know, whereas Sandy, you know, obviously wants a more high detail kind of photorealism type stuff. So that's really helpful for me to kind of be able to know what is your journey? You know, how do I help? Perfect.
Oh, Michael, this is Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
You got a doctor's appointment. It's tomorrow, not today.
All right, we'll try to be done in time. I'll be quick.
It's just so aggravating, you know, you get ready to go and you go and then they say, oh, your appointment's tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I did
I've
that
done
same
that.
freak out this morning. I was like, oh man, I double booked today. And then no, it's also my appointment's on Friday. So I was way off. So perfect. Thank you guys. I will try to do 2 to 3 minutes. And let me know too, like, you know, we don't need to critique everybody every time, or, you know, we'll get to again as many as we can. That's helpful. I think that 3 minutes is going to be a push for me. Boy, does this boy like to talk. And go down rabbit holes of information. So I will try my darndest. I might set Gail or somebody who's, you know, as a timekeeper for me. I know during last Thursday, I did a critique with Gail and Michelle, because I had also missed them. I was hoping you were going to be there, Linda. And we were talking about that. And I tried doing it in 5 minutes and couldn't do it. So it's going to be a push for me. So you guys are going to have to keep me on track as well. So good practice.
I think when we did that on Thursday, we agreed that the time you spent on different assignments, because I had, like Linda, I would have been skipped for a few, that
Right.
you actually only spent about 3 minutes on each assignment. So 3 minutes is adequate.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
do have a timer if you do want me to do that.
Yeah. And I can just use
Good
my
idea.
phone. I can use my phone as well. All right. So we are back at the Padlet page, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so there's the handout. I'm just going to quickly read the headlines. You guys can go through it, but this is what the class is about. Last week was about doing the contrasting colors is what I've always called them, but it seems like complementary colors is what I read more. So, it's the same. It just complementary sounds nice and happy, and contrasting colors sounds a little rougher. But it's the same thing. Sometimes I'm doing it to complement the color. Sometimes I'm doing it to contrast off the color. And then in the beginning of the class, we learned about mixing across the color wheel to neutralize our colors. Again, this is something I never learned in college. It was so crazy. I was just trying to make 1,000 Oregon greens by just my knowledge that yellow and blue makes green, never realizing that adding reds in opened it up to hundreds of more possibilities. It was so weird, and it seems so obvious. But anyways, it's so important to work across the color wheel. So that's what that was about. And then, understanding warm and cool colors, you guys get that, right? If I drew a line at an angle, or at an angle, sorry, that's how most people would show it online is, warm colors, cool colors. I find that useful to a very, very, very rudimentary level. I find that greens can be very, very warm. Blues can be warm compared to other blues. You can even have blues sometimes that are a little warmer than purples in weird circumstances. Blues that are a little warmer than greens. So it's all comparative by what they are beside and what's surrounding them. So that's why I don't like saying, these colors are warm and these colors are cool, because within each painting, it's going to be different, right? Some of my paintings are almost all blue. So anything with just a touch of green feels warmer, or just a touch of purple feels warmer. Some of my paintings are all yellows and, oranges, and just a touch of green or a touch of purple or red even can be the cooler color if I do it right. So I want you to be aware of that it's all about what's its neighbor, or what are the other colors in the painting. Again, I just don't like teaching formulas, both for mixing colors and for, these are warm, these are cool, keep them separate, I just don't think that it's natural, and I don't think it's very useful in the field or when we're painting quickly. It's better to think, how do I warm this? How do I cool this? How do I make it more yellow? How do I make it more reddish, more orangish, whatever the word is you're using? Combining warm and cool. So that's the neutral stuff. What we're going to be talking about this week, and for the rest of the class too, is that having neutral colors, the grays, the browns, will make your warmer colors feel warmer, or your high chroma, purer colors feel much, much more vibrant. Okay. That is, I always talk about the tonalists, but the truth is I love the luminists. They're not a really well-known school, but I actually like a combination of the tonalists and the luminists, because the tonalists are a little looser painters and they're more about mood and atmosphere. The luminists, this is just if you go and read the definition of them. I think they're both, putting too firm of a description on anything is weird. But the luminists are known typically as more photorealism and about the light or the glow. So that's why I like kind of that combination of the two. For those of you who have been with me or seen my website, I actually, with the help of my lovely students, came up with a new term, which is illuminated tones. So that's what I like. I like my own style. Plus, I would show my work on websites where it was called, you know, luminism show or an intro show about luminism. And they'd be like, you're not a luminist, you're a tonalist. Get out of here. And I'd go to a tonalist show, all like, oh, shucks. Well, at least I found my gang finally. How's it going, fellas? And they'd be like, get out of here. You're not a tonalist, you're a luminist. So now I've got my own gang. You guys are all invited. And we're going to be called the Illuminated Tones. And yeah, so anyways, right now it's kind of a very specific series of paintings. It's almost just more my wiping away underpaintings that worked out well. And I didn't end up painting over them. But it's pretty wild. Gosh, it looks like I've sold darn near every one. This one's sold, so need to mark that.
They're beautiful.
But these two are interesting because they're actually painted on gold gesso. If it opens up. But anyways, so I don't worry too much about adhering to, you know, I'm an impressionist. That means I only do this, this, and this, and I never use black, and I, you know, only paint sunshine. No, I don't believe in, you know, setting rules or boundaries for myself. I believe in paint your painting and then figure out what type of painter you are later, you know. So anyways, this is painted on gold. So those are kind of interesting. I thought people were going to love them. Sold a couple of them, but I've got two that have never sold.
I love it.
Yeah. But anyways, so what we did, and I literally had students in my class. I think there's 3 of you in here that were helping me with the writing of this, and we just came up with the description for it. And it's illuminated tones is a distinctive style I have developed by combining and expanding on the traditions of tonalist and luminist paintings. Natural earthy colors and my use of transparency and reflected light creates the illusion of an atmospheric luminance in my work. Each painting glows from within, evoking a sense of meditative tranquility and timelessness. Whew, who doesn't want to own one of those? Dang.
Wow.
All right, well, you know where they are if you decide you need one. Let's get back to our thing here. So here I just wanted to show you guys that literally within, you know, the oranges, cooler, warmer, within the purples, warmer, cooler, within the greens, you know, it's all relative, right? So that's why I just don't like doing that. And yeah, some examples of how to use it. Next week we are going to begin learning about glazing techniques and the difference between transparent and opaque colors. I know we've talked about that in the class, but we're actually going to use it. And then I talk about using color temperature here, and then how to create color harmony, which I think a lot of you guys, maybe why you are taking my class versus another teacher, is that color harmony for me is a big thing. Like I feel my paintings feel uncomfortable if there's too much varied color, if it makes it too bouncy. And I like to say, and you probably heard me say, I like my paintings generally to lean towards siesta, not fiesta. Right? I don't mind a good festive painting, but I'm not probably going to buy it and put it in my house because my house is kind of earth colors and, you know, it's more relaxed. I like a relaxed setting. I listen to, you know, mellow music. You know, yeah, all those things. I don't want a puppy. All those things. I like relaxation and calmness, and I like to control my environment, and I'm trying to bring that across in my paintings. I also like my paintings to be meditational or reflective, and in the term meaning that it helps you to think about whatever it is you want to think about. Tips for color harmony. We talked a lot about that in the first 2 classes about mixing from the palette. You can also limit your color palette. And I just threw in some Monet paintings in there to show examples of how different one scene can look. So when we are looking at our references, I mean, I know he's copying probably what he saw different seasons, but, you know, seeing this, I can still take that information and look at a reference like this and just go, man, I've got so many options by just simply changing colors, by changing the amount of contrast, by all these things. So we have lots of opportunity there. So this week, warm and cool colors. Thank you for letting me do that. And it's going to be a short lesson plan, even though it's already been 40 minutes into the class. I pulled up a couple references that I would like to talk to you guys about doing really quickly. This is the one. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is the one that's going to be the demo, so we don't waste time discussing that. You can paint along with me this week if you would like. I love it because of the amazing contrast in warms and cools, lights and darks. It also invites the idea of depth and perspective in here using temperature shifts and value shifts. So you'll notice the darkest darks are in these foreground trees within the shadows. Okay, so when I'm thinking about perspective and looking at the values, I will generally look to the shadows. Okay, so the dark, because some of the foreground can be quite bright, right? If there's light hitting these leaves, like this little one leaf here, I probably wouldn't paint it like that. It's quite bright, quite light. But the darks are the darkest here.
Michael, that is a photograph, is it?
Yes, yeah. I have painted it before and I'll paint it again.
It's just that those layers in there are like so perfect
Thank you.
on those
For
lines
days.
that go down there.
No, I go to this spot all the time. Yeah, no, it was just a perfect capture. I loved it and I've used it and changed it completely where, you know, I've turned it into a sunrise, which comes from here. This is a sunset painting that we're doing, but we're not, the sun is behind us. But anyways, I turned it to black and white real quick and then we'll go back and look at the color. But I do black and white a lot of times because it takes out all those gorgeous blues and purples that are so mesmerizing and really can get us in trouble if we're not thinking values. So these darks, just follow along and see if you agree. Darkest darks, then it goes back. These trees are quite a ways back there. They're a good 20, 30 yards back. Kind of goes down the hill. I'm standing up on a bluff looking at another bluff. And you can see the shadows down in these trees. Hopefully you can see that, are the second darkest. And then we go into this area and the darks within there, within the shadows. Again, I'm looking at the shadows. These hills on this side are in shadow, whereas this hill back here is actually catching the sunset light. And we'll see that when we put the color on it. But we can see as we go back in space, each receding hill gets, say it with me, everybody, lighter, right?
Yeah.
And I am amazed. Not once, not twice, but many times in my classes, I will be talking with new painters and I'll say, as things recede into space, they get lighter, bluer, and grayer, generally. There's always going to be exceptions, of course. And I will inevitably, half the time, have a student go, no, they don't. They get darker as they recede into space. And it's amazing to me because I'm just like, you are 50 years old. How have you not crashed your car into everything if you can't see perspective? But it's weird that we have this weird belief system and then they'll go outside or come back a week later and be like, holy cow, I have really, it's changed how I see. It's so interesting that we think we see things that we don't actually see. All right, let's go back to the color version.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but doesn't atmosphere have a lot to do with that as well?
Yes.
I mean, there's a big difference between Montana atmosphere and Iowa atmosphere.
100%.
Humidity and, you know, which may play tricks on some of that. Like your background is very, very blue. Those receding mountains are very, very blue. My daughter lives in the Highlands and in the Blue Mountains, and there are mountains in the distance like that photo are very, very blue. Here, they would be very, very gray because of the atmosphere.
Yeah, and so like, you know, if you've seen a lot of my paintings too, you'll notice that they're, I actually will make my background sometimes my warmest area because I'm painting the sunset. And what's happening is that sun is now shining through all this atmosphere, and will make a very warm, because the light is going through all those transparent layers of light or of fog, and it actually makes these warmer, right? But we do still have values. We got our darks.
Okay.
We have darks, you know, and this one, we don't even have diminishing size because the far trees are bigger than the foreground bushes. So, you know, oftentimes there's a whole bunch of different ways we can tell perspective. The higher or the closer a thing goes towards the horizon line, generally the base of it, the further away it is, right? If we look back at our hill or mountains here, or whatever you want to call them, bluffs, right? We don't even see the base of this one. The base of this one is all the way up here. So I could look across and know that this, even if it was black and white, or even if I made it into just a pure black and white, didn't have a grayscale, I would know that this is closer than this. It's bigger. And also the base of it, where it is according to the horizon line. You see that? As things go further back, it seems so obvious, but it's amazing how many times people are like, this hill's further back than, you know, or this hill's further back than this, but they'll bring it down really, really low. So that's helping us give us perspective. But yeah, I mean, that's maybe like if you wanted to make an image that was closer to your home and the colors that you know and love or whatever, work from the black and white. So we have where they are compared to the horizon line. We've got color, temperature often, but be aware of weather and different things. If it was snow covered, sometimes that changes things. You know, clouds don't always play by the rules. So be aware, you know, that you want to know the guidelines or the general rules, and then you can bear witness to when they're breaking. And ask yourself why, and is it important, or is it too weird to the viewer if I put it in? Like if there was a bright pink cloud back here, it might really destroy my illusion. Or if all of a sudden there was a bright red building back here for some reason that still appeared bright red, it would probably appear to be floating, not literally back there. So I might not just paint that red house or something. It's not there, Donna. Don't look. But I'm just giving examples of things. And see these little highlights on these hills here and here? That is so beautiful. It is going to destroy some of your guys' brains for a little while. Because what happens is you stop comparing the whole image, and you're going to be painting blue, you know, dark bluey greenish hill to a dark kind of almost Prussian green blue here, and then on and on it goes till we get back to these almost manganese blues back here. And all of a sudden you're gonna be, but there's these warm spots on these hills. Okay, well, I know, and they're reddish or purplish, and it's going to become very, very vibrant. But you have to say, yes, these areas are warm compared to this, but they're absolutely cold compared to this. So that's what you're going to do, is you're going to be comparing your temperatures, not only to what's beside them, but what's going on, and helping you get this sense of depth and light and perspective. Okay. Does that make sense? I hopefully just saved you guys an hour of crying on the floor, because it is amazing. I've done this as an assignment. And not, maybe even somebody in this class has done it with me before. These will end up just so bright and difficult for people to paint, because it will look just about as bright as this. So just be aware, look at that. And again, let's go back to the black and white. Look how close they are in value to what's beside it. So that's going to be my next point, is that the lights and dark contrast as we go back into space gets much closer together, to the point where eventually we are no longer even seeing all the detail, all the trees. I mean, here we can barely see it. Let me just pop this up so we can zoom in. Here we can barely see the differentiation between the tops of the trees and the bottoms of the trees. Back here, it's even less. I don't even know if you guys can see that difference on your monitors. And
Yeah.
then back here, we can't tell the difference at all. It's just all one value. Back here, one value. Back here, yeah. So it's not until we get quite a bit closer and when things begin to get hit by light that we start to see the difference between the trees. There is some fall color going on just beginning in this. If that's too complicated and looks too spotty, just ignore that and make them into green trees. Or if you want more fall color, you can do that, whatever you want. But it is a little spotty. I would either kind of link them up a little bit, but what I have found is that if I overdo these, they feel like the rock. They're almost the same color. So sometimes our photo references don't help. Who maybe even thought that was rock?
I did.
Yeah, exactly. And it's confusing and it'll confuse your viewer. So those are just maybe even dead trees that are getting caught, catching the light. Whereas down here, you got these little deciduous trees amongst all these evergreens that are popping up. So, you know, you don't have to do that. If it's like, man, it's making my painting spotty or hard to understand, who cares? Turn it into, nobody's going to say, but what happened to that deciduous tree I remember down there in the valley? Also, this is a tidal water, so it does go up and down. So if this like weird shape that sticks out here is annoying to you, because it kind of is, it's just weird. It's a thumb sticking out there. Know that in an hour, that might be underwater. You don't have to put that in there. Or you can change these shapes. I find like, you know, what I often will do is just kind of, well, I think I often just cover that because I like it better. I like it to feel like the water's moving easier. But that's up to you. You can take these trees out. They do not need to be there. There's a lot of depth already in this painting, but if this helps to really create the illusion of 3D, you can put it. You can change these trees. I don't need to put these weird little deciduous or, you know, these leaves next to these pines. I could just have the pine tree. That'd be enough. Or I could just do the leafy tree. That would be enough. Or just get rid of all of them and just, you know, imagine what's going on here. There's a road down here. That is a gorge highway. Beautiful, beautiful drive. And right up by where I'm standing is called the Old Gorge Highway. And it is one of the most beautiful drives probably in the United States. There's waterfalls around every third turn. And some of them are amazing, Multnomah Falls. So if you ever get to Oregon, check out the gorge. This is a very famous called the Vista House, and it's very old. There's beautiful, beautiful pictures online right now of what it looked like in the ice storm. It just looked like somebody made it out of sugar.
Sorry.
But that's a really beautiful, popular spot. You can go up on the roof and look at the view. But I actually like having it in my painting. And so this viewpoint is called the Women's Forum, and it's just the viewpoint of the viewpoint. But I like it. And it's not as busy. Down here can be just crazy. I go down there to paint sunset a lot because you can look either direction and it's beautiful, or even across the valley or across the river gorge. But there's often now just tons of kids up there partying at night with, you know, drinking and listening to their music really loudly. So it's not as peaceful as it used to be. But
Michael, is that a car on that road?
Yep, a little car.
And why is it there?
Because that's a road.
I know that that's a road. It's just that it seemed incongruous to me when I first looked at it that people don't usually put the car on the road. So I just wondered, you
Where
know.
do you put your car?
That was just the picture as it was taken.
That's a photograph.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a-
no,
it's a
I
photo.
probably,
I mean,
yeah, I would probably get rid of it or put more cars, or I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of annoying just standing down
I
there.
forget this is a picture photo.
yeah, it's just a photo.
Yep, it's a photo. I haven't done anything to manipulate it besides maybe I pushed the chroma a little higher, push the saturation a touch more.
What is that white thing off the thumb? Is that a platform?
Beach, I think.
And isn't it?
Is it a
Here?
beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are docks or old, like, I don't know. There's so much commerce that goes on, and a lot of it's old and dilapidated. There used to be so much traffic of boats on here. Now they've dammed up parts of it, Bonneville Dam and stuff. But yeah, it used to be a lot of logging going up and down this. They would just literally float logs and stuff. And lots of fishing. they're trying to kind of bring back the river still. But yeah, it's tidal, so I mean, this could be deep. But I think what it is it's just how the water, the current, you can kind of see it going along in different areas, how the current makes, how it's catching the light. A lot of times I'll just paint this smooth and decide if I actually want these changes, these little variations in there. Think simple first. Do not think detail. And I'll demo that here in a little bit. Okay, quick.
And
move
those
on.
are natives fishing boats, right?
What's that?
They're Native American fishing boats out there.
Yes.
When I was up there, the natives had the rights to fish in the river.
Yeah, they can fish for salmon up above certain areas, whereas nobody else can. And it's kind of interesting. You can go and buy them right off the side of the road from them. So they make money doing it. And you can get some really nice fresh salmon. It feels weird, but it's kind of cool. There's also giant, like 15-foot prehistoric fish in there that are so cool. What are they? Sturgeons? Yeah, sturgeons. So weird looking. Okay,
could you say the name of that place again, please?
Where I'm standing is called the Woman's Forum.
Okay.
And the view, that building out there is called the Vista, VISTA house. And it's the Columbia River Gorge.
Thank you.
Across the other side is Washington, and we're on the Oregon side taking that photo. This is the painting
also called Crown Point.
Crown Point, yeah. That's the name of the little thing that it's on, yeah. That area is Crown Point. Thank you. Yep. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. If you can come out in the fall, treat yourself to it. That is the most beautiful drive in the fall. Oh.
I did that one fall. We took a girlfriend and I took a train all across the US. It was called the viewing train. And we had the best time. And we landed in Portland and then rented a car and just went up and down all over into Washington and into the top of California. What a ball. Wine country, horses, covered bridges. Oh my God.
Yep. We got a bit of a lot. All right. So this is, I don't think we're going to have time for it today, but I wanted to do a second demo. So maybe I will do that tomorrow during the paint along or at some point. But I wanted to do this one. Do I have a black and white of it? No, I don't. I wanted to do that one as a black and white so that for next week, I can do some glazing and use that. So I'm going to, and you guys can start on it next week and you can pick any image you want. But that's the one I want to do for the transparent and opaque painting demo. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. So what I was thinking is I would do this as a black and white. There, I found it. And then I would, and maybe I would even add a touch of blue to my black just to cool it down. I'm going to go ahead and leave my sky completely white. I'm not even going to add any value shift. And I'll probably do the same with the water because I want to do those color shifts with transparent paint and see if that works out for me. Because that way it really will have kind of mimic, I hope, the glow that is in here. So that will be the next painting I will be working on. And we'll see how class goes today. And then in theory, open to change. The final 2 weeks of class, and you can be working on, I would like to do something probably with this one. It's quite complicated, meaning there's a lot of texture, a lot of overlapping and things. This one might be a little difficult for a lot of students, so we could probably find something. But I thought that this one encapsulated almost everything that we have talked about and will talk about in this class.
Hey, Michael.
Yes, Don.
What I wouldn't mind tackling that painting. It's a bit complicated for me, but I could crop it and probably get elements of everything that you've talked about.
100%. And I think that we should jump off and talk about that really quick. I'll just pop it up. So when I left click on an image on my screen, this just pops up. This is my I don't know what it's called. It doesn't ever even say what it is. but it's just my photo viewing thing on my computer. I don't know. Does everybody have something? If you just open an image on your computer, it just takes you to some image viewing thing.
I think it has to do with Windows, because my last time I updated my Windows, suddenly that appeared. Because
Okay.
I have Photoshop elements. That
Yeah,
I
and it's
used to use.
Photoshop elements. This is
No.
even much more rudimentary than that, but
Mhm.
I find that it helps me to explain to students, because when I go to Photoshop, you know, I'm spending nearly $30 a month to have Photoshop. I don't expect my students to do that. So simple software is great. So yeah, let's check this out, because we were kind of talking about this a little bit before class started about I love taking, because I was showing last Thursday a bunch of photos that I took on this day, and a lot of them were cropped in, Don, and I kind of, you know, was editing at the time. But this is one of the ones that has all of the information from that scene. And Cheryl, I know you and I talked about that too, that you like to take kind of the big picture, because what happens is, yeah, just like Don was saying, I can all of a sudden look for scenes that might be interesting within there. I've got it on free edit right now, which means I can make it like a horizontal, you know, very much a panoramic image. I could make it very much or just tall and skinny and make it about, oh, I guess I moved this way. No, maybe I just really like these trees for some reason. Maybe I like this weird tree that only grows on the left side. Or maybe I like this light, and this contrast back in here is really exciting to me, right? So with the free, I can go to anything. The only problem is if I pick something like this, I got to either go cut a panel or a canvas, or cut a piece of paper, because I probably don't have anything that is exactly this measurement. So what I can do is go to the bottom really quickly, and I'm going to be painting on a 16-inch by 20-inch today. So I know that mathematically that's a 4x5, right? You know, because 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times, what's that?
Are you still using acrylics now? I mean, I missed the first part of the meeting. Are you using acrylics for this, or are you using
I
oils?
can ask you guys what you would rather today.
Okay.
So I could say I'm painting on a 16 by 20. And I can, so now it's at this measurement, 4x5. That's a vertical. So if I wanted to paint more of a tall
You
image,
need a 5x4. Yeah.
yep. So, or I can do a horizontal. I could do the whole thing. I could zoom in just a little bit to get rid of some stuff. I could say, you know what, I don't really care about the cattails, or maybe I don't care about the top of the tree. So I'm just zooming in using my mouse. I don't know how you guys would do it if you don't have a little roller on your mouse. So it'll take experimenting, but anyways, there's so many things you can do. Even when we were before class, I was just like, oh, this would be a painting, right? By simply going to adjustments now, I've cropped this. I can go to my brightness. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to go to my exposure, take it up. My contrast, I'm going to take that up, because I want these grasses to come forward. Maybe I'm going to take my brightness back up and push my contrast. And now all of a sudden the grasses start separating out from the reflections. It's getting a little more Monet, isn't it? Put some lilies on there. I can pick my highlights and I can brighten those if I really wanted to. I can subdue them. I'll just slightly brighten them. I can darken my shadows. And this is what's going to help me the most, probably, to bring those grasses into, so I can see them. Right? I can vignette it by meaning darken the outside areas if I want, or lighten them. I can up my saturation, which just means it's taking the yellows and making them yellower, the reds become redder, the greens become greener. I can make it into a black and white. This is the tool I'm doing when I'm sharing the black and white images with you, is I just simply go here and take my saturation all the way down. So it's super simple. It doesn't give me a lot of control, but it sure does some neat things.
I can do all that on my phone.
Yes, exactly right. So that's the other option, is on your phone. You can do all of that.
There's also 2 little apps that are kind of cool. One is called a Notanizer.
Yep.
So you can, and another one is the Grid Painter. And it'll do all those things. And they're both free apps.
The grid what?
It's called the Grid painter. So you can size a photograph like Michael is talking about, or zoom in or zoom out, or make it proportional to whatever the size of your canvas is. And the no tanizer will take a photo and turn it into all kinds of tones. It'll do strictly black and white, the no tan, or you can add as many shades of gray or tone values in there as you want. It also helps with perspective if you do the grid finder. Banner.
Yeah, and on
And
your
it eliminates the need for one of these.
I have one of those too.
Right. I'm trying to find, I actually was writing notes about my favorite apps. So my favorite two photo manipulation, just for, not for values and editing, but for all over editing for photos right now. My favorite two are something called Afterlight, which is pretty easy to use. And then I really like one called Lightroom. I don't know if it came free with my Photoshop or if it is free, but Lightroom is amazing. It has a little bit of a learning curve for sure, but boy, oh boy, can you do a lot on your phone with it.
What are they called?
Lightroom. It's just a big.
It's been around for a while, I think.
What's that?
I remember people talking about that years ago, several
Oh
years.
yeah, no, Lightroom's old. It's one of the Adobe.
Yeah.
Suites, but it's amazing. And there's lots of updates. They're always changing it. So anyways, so now what I could do so I don't destroy my whole image is I would go to save options and I would save a copy and I could just, you know, save it. I could rename it as, you know, grass over reflections. And I could save it to my desktop, or I could pick a folder. I could save it to this class, save it. So there it is. But I would rather go back. Oh, that's adjusting it. I thought I had, don't I have a go back button on here? No, because so that's why I would save a copy, is because, you know, don't want to destroy my original image. So yeah, lots of editing. We can talk about that when we get back and visit this as a final project or whatever you want to do. The other thing is maybe I don't actually like all the greens. Maybe I want it to be more fall colors, or maybe I want to make it, you know, less high chroma, more monochromatic, or whatever else, more of a tonalist painting slightly. So we got tons and tons of things we can play with and adjust on here. So it is complicated. What I would suggest is probably simplifying the grasses, not putting in everything, cattail, whatever you call them, leaf or whatever it is, you know, and then the trees, maybe kind of grouping them. I also don't love the shapes of the trees. This one looks like a head with its arms sticking up. This one makes like a donut on a stick. This one's branches only go one direction for some odd reason. Always makes me laugh when I see it. So there's lots of things, you know, I could come in here and completely redo the trees, and probably will. But the lighting is nice. The design is kind of strangely triangular. These trees are quite centered in the middle, but for some reason it kind of works, but maybe I would lean one way or the other, you know, cut it. So anyways, lots of things. So everybody okay with that? Let me do stop share. Thumbs up with the order of paintings. Everybody likes the 3 paintings I've chose to see demos of. All right. And again, the last painting can change. We've got a week. If anybody's like, but well, have you seen this one? Or, you know, and again, you're always welcome to paint whatever you want. I just want you guys to know that you can paint along with me if you'd like. That is it for right now. Do you guys want to do an experiment and see if I can critique in 3 minutes and do critiques first, or do you want me to do demos first?
Whichever, either one.
Should we try critiquing?
All right, let's do it. Let's take a break so I can get some lemon water, because I'm going to be talking like a frog here in a minute. And you guys are like, he already sounds like a frog. Rude. Great. Let's take it is 10:40. Let's come back at 10:45 and we'll do critiquing, and let's see, this will be a learning experience for me. See if I can stay on track.
I would vote for demo.
Who was that?
Me too.
I would vote for demo.
All right, come back to demo. Okay, then
Yeah.
one more vote before you go get your tea. Acrylics or oils?
Oils.
Oils, please.
All right, oils it is.
What time are we back?
Well, because it's oils, well, we can come back in 5 minutes, but you'll watch me put paints on my palette.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
All right. And remind me to push record for the next class.
Okay.